Welcome to Talking Jazz. My guest today is pianist, composer, educator Gary Motley. So, welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for inviting me to be here today.
It's super great to see you. And, I know you a little bit from the past, but why don't you give us a quick synopsis of Gary Motley before we get started with some music so people get to know you?
I was born and raised in Anniston, Alabama. I was first introduced to jazz through public radio and television, and I grew up hearing my dad's blues records. And actually, we had a neighbor who would sit on his porch and play blues guitar. So I often heard that. I started college thinking that I wanted to be an electrical engineer and found myself kind of hanging out at the jazz clubs instead. At a point, decided I wanted to pursue music. I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of great musicians. While I was in college, I took trips to New York, and that's where I first met Barry Harris. First group I heard in New York was Stanley Turrentine, Ray Brown, Mickey Roker, and Gene Harris. And I heard that, and I was sold. I was on board. I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, working on developing my chops and getting my stuff together, and that's where I met guitarist Russell Malone, and I ended up recording on Russell's album with Columbia Records, Black Butterfly. During that time, I also was contacted by Marian McPartland and invited to be on her show, Piano Jazz. I had an opportunity to meet her and be a part of that. I've written works ranging from solo piano to string quartet and some larger orchestrations that you've heard, we'll hear on a couple of the recordings. I've taught at the university level for 25 years. I'm professor of practice and director of jazz studies at Emory University in Atlanta. And I developed a jazz residency program that I bring in national artists each year and have done so for the last 10 years to perform with and also do residencies and community outreach programs. I've performed internationally from Carnegie Hall to the Intern Jazz Festival in Austria. 2015, I was inducted into the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame, and my most recent endeavor has been a new book that's being released by Taylor and Francis called Harmonic Development and Counterpoint Techniques for the Jazz Pianist.
That's quite a list, and we'll have to we'll have to talk a lot about these things. And I should add that we actually kind of went to school together at the
Yeah.
University of Alabama eons ago, and that's how I remember you. So of course, this was always my model to look up to
Oh, goodness.
and strive for. We're going to start out listening to a live recording that is brand new. It's a version of Wave, the Antonio Carlos Jobim tune, and you added some strings to it. So give us a little backdrop before we go listen to this, what it's all about and what we can listen for.
Excerpt was taken from the Emory Jazz Festival, which we do every February, and features one of the nights we feature the big band. So this year we did a partnership with the big band and studio string orchestra from our major orchestra as a part of the festival. And in preparing for that, I found this wonderful arrangement of Wave by Klaus Ogerman and thought it would be wonderful to kind of adapt that. And I based it off of another recording of Wave that was done by Oscar Peterson with, I can't remember the name of the group now, but the
The
record was,
singers.
oh, that's right. So my first experience in hearing that recording was Oscar Peterson with Singers Unlimited. There was a string arrangement that was done of that. So I did kind of an adaptation, taking Ogerman's arrangement, doing kind of my interpretation of revisiting that.
That's really cool, and it's beautiful, especially with the strings. It works really well, adding to the waves. So let's
Yeah.
have a listen. This is Wave, a live recording from the February 2023 Emory Jazz Festival with the Emory University Orchestra, featuring my guest today, Gary Motley on piano. That was a recording of Wave. It was a live recording from the 2023 Emory Jazz Festival. And it featured my guest today, Gary Motley, on piano. And we got a little introduction into his background. Electrical engineering wasn't it, it was the piano calling. And you ended up teaching at Emory University. So I want to talk a little bit about this new book that you're putting out, Harmonic Development and Contrapuntal Techniques for the Jazz Piano. What's it all about? Who's going to use it? And how long have you been working on that?
I first started getting some insights into this when I was in college with my piano teacher, looking at some different techniques that are used in classical music. And I got the idea of, I wonder what happens if I substitute jazz harmony into this. And it opened up a whole new world for me. So it's something that I've been exploring over the years, and then began trying to use it as a part of my teaching. But it's essentially just a way to get inside of the jazz harmony and bring out colors and movement that sometimes we might otherwise miss. So it's a technique and a method for really exploring that. And I found it really helped me to develop my own sound. Not that that was the original goal at the outset, but in doing that, it really brought out the things that I liked and the colors that I liked. So I really enjoyed that and wanted to share it.
That's really true. It's usually when we teach or explore something, we learn way more than the students. And that's why I love teaching too, and I do a lot of research, and people say, oh, why did you do all that stuff? And said, I learn all the time.
Well, absolutely. And to be able to teach it, you really have to know it. And I find many times students will have questions, well, why did you do this, or how does this work? And then we really, we start to investigate it. I went back and became my own student in a way. It was neat. And again, being able to share that with people and share my excitement and enthusiasm about it.
So it's going to be out in December, is that right?
Yes, coming up soon. The release date is December 18th.
Mm-hmm. And available, who's the publisher again?
It's Rutledge, Taylor, and Francis. You can get it directly there, or whoever your favorite bookseller. It is available. If you type in Harmonic Counterpoint and Motley, it will take you from there.
You don't even need the whole title. Remember the Harmonic Counterpoint and Gary Motley to find it. Yeah, great resource. So I'm excited. I'm going to get my copy for sure. We're going to listen to a song called Hit Me. And I believe this is from a 2014 recording from Departure.
Yes.
Tell us some things to listen for in this one before we get started.
This one, it was just kind of a fun tempo tune. I've got Terry Gully playing drums and Craig Shaw playing bass on this one. We're just having fun with this kind of motivic development that comes up with the recurring theme, and from an academic standpoint, doesn't have a lot of the contrapuntal things, but there's a lot of harmony with sixths and exploring different types of harmony within kind of a minor or Dorian structure.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's have a listen and swing along. That's for sure. So here is Hit Me from the 2014 release Departure by my guest today, Gary Motley, who you'll hear on piano. That was a tune called Hit Me from the 2014 release Departure by my guest today, Gary Motley. And we've been talking about education so far and background. This next one we're going to head to is a collection that's called Tone Poems. And I see it came out in 2020 and it's very different from your usual things. It's solo piano and introspective. Might that be a Corona product, or was that during that time?
No, absolutely. It was, and it was making the shift from teaching in classroom and being on campus to being at home. So one of the things that I did during that time was each morning when I would get up and I would look out the window and I would just play the first thing that came to mind as sort of a meditation or a way to kind of get my day started. And on this particular morning, there was kind of this misty aura that was happening on the hill right in front of my window. And I just improvised and would create these little short sound bites, and I would do it every morning. And that was one that I did. It reminded me of growing up as a child. Our piano was located near a window, and I remember sitting there as a kid and looking outside and just playing what I saw. And it was neat because in the spring there'd be flowers blooming and birds and that sort of thing. So I would try to capture that, or sometimes in the winter there would be snow and capturing those things. So this was kind of a way of reconnecting with that. And that's where that piece came from. On the recording, you'll hear different things. Some things are a little more functional, a little bit more structured, and then there are others that are complete abandon and just what came up came out.
And, that's really cool. We all found ways to cope. We had to change real quick, and I think those of us who had music to go to and use that as an expression, it helped a little bit to
Absolutely. I found for me, as I said, it was a great way to get my day started and just get into a focus. It's interesting to me that over time, the different things that we've gone through in different periods in the music, there was a sound that was usually associated with that particular period. And I thought it was interesting for us going through this. I think we all found ourselves trying to figure out what's the definitive sound, of this condition that we're experiencing. So I think for a lot of us musicians, we were trying to kind of sort that out for not only for ourselves, but just in terms of when people look back at this time, is there going to be something that is kind of a common thread that ties us all together, and we just kind of say, that really captures what was going on. I still think right now we're still immersed in it and we haven't completely come out of it. But at some point, hopefully we'll be able to look back at it and see it objectively and say, okay, there was this sound, not saying that it necessarily needs to be that way, but there probably is, because if we're talking about being a collective people, then at some point these things are going to merge. So it will be interesting to see one day when we can reflect back on it. And that was the whole idea, for tone points.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I was actually thinking about that when you were talking. I thought, I wonder when, like in 5-10 years, when we look at all the various recordings that came out of this period and the different sounds, what the common factors are and the sound. We're not there yet, you're right, but we're still working through. It's too close. So I assume the whole Tone Poems album are these reflections, these morning reflections that you put together.
Yes, went back through and just picked out, I think, 12 that I thought were fairly representative of different moods, different things that I was trying to explore at the time. I tend to be a very structured person, so the idea of reckless abandon for me is a real challenge, because I have this desire that I want to make it right. And so part of the challenge with that was to just leave it as it was. If the chord didn't completely sound like, the way that I might think that it should, resist the urge to change it and go, you know what, that's what you played in the moment and it's okay. And that was my big takeaway from that, was just telling myself it's okay to feel how I feel and express what I wanted to express.
That's really cool. And yeah, so we're gonna imagine this morning and there's mist and little foggy things out the window. and we're looking out. So close your eyes. And here's Mist from Tone Poems by my guest today, Gary Motley. That was a piece or improvised piece called Mist from a collection called Tone Poems by my guest today, Gary Motley. And, you have some great quotes on your website. Pianist Gary Motley swings with the sensibility of Wynton Kelly, and I agree. Just some really, really deep, down to earth swing, and I remember the Alabama times. But you were on NPR's Piano Jazz with Marion McPartland. Which is my dream. So I want you to share a little bit how that was. How was it playing with Marion, and how did she do the show? I'm curious.
Interestingly enough, your format here is very, very similar. A little background on that. I got a call from her asking me about being on the show, and at first I wasn't sure it was real. I was like, okay, this is someone trying to, one of my friends, playing a prank. But as our conversation went on, I found out that it really was her, and she was inviting me to come on the show. I had an opportunity to actually meet her maybe 3 months before the show at a festival that I found out that I was playing with Russell Malone, and she had been asked to open this particular festival. So we got a chance to meet, which I thought was really nice in advance of my going to New York and recording the show with her. She was absolutely very delightful. She had a great sense of humor and a tremendous knowledge of different songs. And so it was really nice to have those conversations with her. And she shared a couple of things that were interesting. And she said one was the most nervous she had ever been on the show was when she had Bill Evans. And if you've
Oh.
listened to that interview, you can hear it. And as he's explaining what he's doing, and he's playing these things. So that was one of her really interesting moments was with that. One of the things that I got from the show that really impacted me was we were talking about it, and at the particular time when I did that, what was going on in the music scene was players that were, demonstrating really strong technical proficiency at kind of burnout and kind of non-functional harmony and those sorts of things, which were a challenge for me. And I was trying to learn those things, and it was really difficult. And I asked her about it, and I said, I have this problem. I said, I want to play like that, but everything I play comes out melodic. And she just said, everybody should have that problem. And I immediately felt better about that. And she just encouraged me. She said, continue to just discover who you are through the music, and the rest will take care of itself. And I thought that was so encouraging, and I always appreciated that from her.
Yeah, she had a great English humor, and
Yes.
B, that was the special thing about her, that she was able to create an environment where you were willing to share, and you felt like you could share the deepest, most intimate things, and it would be welcome.
Oh, absolutely. It created a great forum, for the sharing of ideas, and that's really vital to this music.
So yeah, I'm going to put it into the world. One day I want to do the show like that and bring it back. So somebody out there, give us the sponsorship and we'll do it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to listen to a tune called Sea Change. And this looks like it's from your No Reservation Required album from 2017. Anything you want to give us to go into this listening?
Sea Change, I actually co-wrote that song with my wife, Veronica. The song, it represents, again, I think this was prior to, we didn't know that COVID was coming, just to recognizing kind of musically that there was this musical shift that was taking place, as well as different things that were going on as far as the world is concerned. With this one, when we talk about the idea of counterpoint, I started to introduce a little bit of counterpoint and mixed meter in this piece, and trying to do something a little outside of what I had been exploring musically. So taking some chances with that. And so we put this composition together to reflect that.
Very cool. All right, let's enjoy it. So here is Sea Change from the album No Reservation Required, a 2017 release by my guest today, Gary Motley. that was Sea Change, a composition by my guest today, Gary Motley, actually created with his wife, Victoria. And it's from an album called No Reservation Required. And we've been having conversations about being on piano jazz and creating during COVID. But you built this jazz program at Veronica. Let's go back to this education program. It says in the mission and vision for the program that there are special ways that technology and music are integrated. So I'm curious about the program that you created and what those special ways are. And yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
As you said, when we met at that time, when you and I met, when I was at the University of Alabama, I thought I wanted to be an engineer. And so making the change to music put that away. But fast forward all of these years, and technology has become a really integral part of music production. Mm-hmm. So I was able to take my interest in that and fuse it with my my love for music. So it's just a matter of using technology, using a digital audio workstation to record and produce music electronically, and in the case of COVID, virtually, what enabled us to be able to put together virtual ensembles and that sort of thing. So fusing technology with jazz, but still playing, being true to tradition. Swing is still, an important part of what it is that I do. I do explore other styles, but being able to do that and remain true to that, but using technology as a way of producing it, documenting it. And as I said, in the case of when we were not able to be performed together in person, being able to put together virtual concerts. I used the technology to put together a virtual 18-piece big band. Was inspired by Chad B. We saw the videos that he had done, and I talked to my students and I said, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, but we're going to try. And we have this technology in place. I did even trio performances. I did a concert with Bobby Broom, Kenny Davis, and we did a virtual concert. And actually, I have them coming back. We're going to do the concert that we were planning to do live in February for our jazz festival. So that's the idea with the facility that I created called the Jazz Studio. And we use all of those things as a way of teaching the students. We're recording their performances so that they can have feedback, literally hear what their performance sounds like. And then we're able to, I wouldn't say critique it, but review it, so that we can give pointers and suggestions on how things can be improved, or the things that were really effective. And so it's a wonderful teaching and communication tool.
That's really great skills that you're giving your students to have a broader spectrum of things that they're able to do. But yeah, it was interesting, right? During COVID, there were all these multi-picture big band recordings. It was so popular. And I don't think I have seen any for a while now. I wonder if that really disappeared, or if we just did not want to deal with that anymore.
I can't speak for anybody else, but speaking for myself, it was wonderful to be able to do it and have it as an alternative, to bridge the gap. But I'm glad that we went there and did it, and I look forward and hope that we can continue to move forward.
It's one of those things that we gladly left behind for the life experience.
My students were so funny, and we did the things that we were required to do. And I had this one situation where we were, doing the Zoom call for our rehearsal, and we were reviewing the video, and I'm going, there's no latency. I mean, this is really, and I'm trying to, I'm keeping abreast of the latest technology. And I'm going, have they discovered some software or something that gives zero latency? Because I need to know what this is that they're using. And so finally, they took the camera and they panned around the room, and they were all in the same room performing. All I know is it was at an undisclosed location off campus. So, no policies were violated. But they were determined that they were going to get together and play. Mm-hmm. And I really appreciated that, because fortunately for them, before they graduated, we were past everything, and they were able to perform together live. But I was so proud of them for their determination. It's like, whatever we need to do here, we're going to continue and make sure that the music happens.
That's a really cool story. So, and talking about stories, we're going to listen to Shep's Journey, which is actually just a snippet of the burning piano solo, but that's something you're working on. So explain that to us before we listen to it.
The very abbreviated version of that is we named the song after our shepherd who got out and went on an excursion and came back looking quite much like he had been on an excursion. So we named the song after that. It's kind of a tempo tune with an opening theme, and then from there it's this kind of non-functional harmony and trying to explore some things with that. So when I recorded it many years ago, I didn't feel that I understood it as much, and I've had some time to go back and, of course, be in the shed and practice and have experience on the bandstand. So on my new project that's coming up, we're going to re-record it, and so this will be the amended version, we'll say.
So we get a glimpse of what's to come.
Yes, that was the snippet that you're about to hear was taken from a jazz vespers, holiday vespers program that we just did a few days ago. It's from the solo that I was taking on the tune there.
Let's get in the mood and in the mode and in the season. So here is Shep's Journey, an expert from recently from the Jazz Vesper, and it features my guest today, Gary Motley. That was an excerpt from Shep's Journey featuring my guest today, Gary Motley, on piano. And it was a great conversation and a great blast from the past. I'm really happy we got to connect.
Absolutely.
But what's coming up next? You got the book coming out. You're working on this recording. What are some exciting adventures? Not that they are already enough.
Well, that's the main thing right now is the excitement about the book. This is a project that I'd worked on for quite some time. So it's nice to finally have that realized. And along with that, I've created a companion website so that people have the book. You've got all of the information there, but you with the companion website, there are actual recordings of all of the examples so that you can not only understand, reading it, but understanding how these things sound. It's important to people when you're learning piano, as you know, touch and technique, dynamics, phrasing, articulation, and those sorts of things. That's what I really wanted to convey. So building the website so that people have access to those resources, which is also, as you know, is kind of a time-consuming thing. Working on those and then looking at opportunities to go out and do lecture demos and concerts and master classes so that we can continue to share these things with folks. I encourage everybody to get a copy of the book, check it out if you like what's there and you would like to have a clinic or a presentation, and certainly get in touch because we'd love to get people on the schedule for that.
That's very cool. And the best way to get in touch is maybe find your website and get the contact.
Yes, for the book, it's very simple, harmoniccounterpoint.com. And then if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, it's Gary Motley Music.
Gary Motley Music, Motley. Gary Motley Music Inc.
Yes, actually, they can just GaryMotleyMusic.com.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. So go find the music, listen often. I assume if you go on any of the streaming services, there'll be plenty of albums available, like everybody. So it's been so great having you. This last one, Spiffy, reminds me a little bit about Lenny Tristano lines. Am I right there? Is that
Exactly. I'm a big fan of that type of movement in the music with the bass line and then melodic accompaniment and so forth. In fact, on that particular recording, I'm actually playing bass sample. It's not a live bass player. That's actually the old joke, the piano player does it with his left hand. Again, it's traditional music, but I'm using technology as a way of putting it together. So the bass line is keyboard software program that I use. And then I'm playing piano on that. And the saxophonist is Victor Goins, who's a longtime friend. And I asked him to play on this with me. So again, it was inspired by, I don't remember which song, but it was a song that Oscar Peterson did on the trio recording at the live at the Stratford Shakespearean Festival. If you've listened to that recording with Ray Brown and Herb Ellis Peterson, and it was actually a part of my graduate work at Georgia State University. So I created this song kind of in tribute to Peterson.
That's really cool. And you had me fooled because I have written down, okay, there's Victor Goins on sax, and who is the bass player? It sounds very, very, very real.
Thank you.
So yeah, very cool. Thank you. Thank you again for talking and sharing. And we'll go out with Spiffy from the album Renaissance, a 2009 release. And this is Gary Motley on piano. So thank you, Gary.
Thank you. And thank you for your show and all that you do to support and promote jazz, Monika. It is very much appreciated.
Thank you. See you soon. was pianist, educator, composer Gary Motley. You can hear Talking Jazz every Thursday at 11 a.m. and Mondays at 7 p.m. on WETF 105.7 in South Bend, Indiana, or online at jazzradiowetf.org, and Fridays at 8 p.m. on WICR 88.7 Indianapolis. Previous shows are also on my YouTube channel, Monika Herzig, MonikaHerzig. Please subscribe to the Talking Jazz playlist. Thank you for listening.